Okay, so last week we asked the question, in the case of autoimmune disease or cancer, both cases, what told the body that it was acceptable to begin attacking itself? At what point did it feel that it was okay to attack itself? Because that's not okay, right? That's not normal. That's not the standard behavior. But yet, that's exactly what happens in the cases of autoimmune disease or cancer. Things go rogue within. Things get turn into chaos within. It doesn't know what's good and what's bad. It begins to start attacking parts of our bodies that shouldn't be attacked. And so, what gave the body the okay, the approval to be able to start doing this? And so, one of the things we talked about last week was the way we talk to ourselves, the way we love ourselves or don't love ourselves. And I challenged you to start applying daily the 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7. Individually, those individual things are so important to remind ourselves that we need to do this for us, that we're not going to be rude to ourselves. If you look at the scriptures, that we're supposed to first love the Lord our God, second, love our neighbor as ourselves. So, yes, we're supposed to love our neighbor, but we can't do that without loving ourselves also. Love ourselves and love our neighbor are both tied together. They're wrapped right up. They're equal. We have to both love ourselves and love our neighbor. And I think a lot of times, especially in the case of cancer and autoimmune disease, we tend to not like ourselves. We tend to not love ourselves. We've learned to put others first as opposed to ourselves. And so it's so important to look at 1 Corinthians 13 and not only apply it to the way we behave towards others around us, but apply it internally and apply it as if this is exactly how the Lord would want me to treat myself. I think it's so important. So this week, I want to talk about the internal chaos that can come up within when we're trying so hard to please so many other people. For example, when I was a young mom, I still wanted to please my parents. I desperately wanted their approval. I desperately wanted to be the best possible wife ever imaginable. It was new to be a wife, and I just totally I didn't want to mess it up. I was a new mom. I didn't want to mess up being a really good mom. I wanted my kids to turn out really well. I wanted them to be super smart, ahead of everyone else, those standard mom things. And then my career. I wanted a successful career that made good money, that had great title, all these things. And then, of course, I wanted to be a strong leader within the church. And all these things I was trying, it was tug of war within me. I was trying to be the best at this and be the best at this and please this person and please that person. And, oh, that person says you need to go do this. And that one says you need to go do this. And so I was constantly being tugged at inside, within my heart. Constantly, well, where do I go? Which way do I do? What do I do? That tug of war that so often, I think it's really, really common for moms. And it's probably no coincidence that most of the people dealing with autoimmune are females, because we have that nurturing nature inside of us that wants to help. We desire to help. But it's so important that, okay, first off, God created us, each of us, for a unique purpose. He has placed desires within our hearts, not to be pushed down and put everyone else's desires in front of that. But those desires in our heart were placed there because there's a unique purpose within us. And so there's a unique situation, a unique life, just a big purpose of why we are here at this time on this earth. And if we are constantly putting down what we value, what we feel like we should be doing, we're ultimately not listening to God, and we're ultimately not listening to what's inside of us. And we're telling ourselves that that's not important. Whether we know it or not, we're telling ourselves, our internal being, that what it feels, it's not important. So ultimately, we're not loving ourselves like 1 Corinthians 13 says, but we're also kind of creating a chaos within. There's a struggle, a chaos that happens when a frustration that happens when we're doing this that can't be let loose. It's only pushed down because we just keep pushing that feeling down. We keep pushing it. And so eventually, just as when someone's pushing us down, kind of beating us down, we eventually start getting hurt. And as we put down our feelings, we eventually begin to not feel any longer what we want. We become so confused that we don't understand anymore what it is that we were designed for, what it is that God has for us. And I believe that causes that same, as strange as this probably sounds, it causes that same confusion within our internal organs. They say a lot of times that people who aren't allowed to speak their opinion will have thyroid issues. They lose their voice. They lose their ability to speak what God's placed inside of them. And our bodies, just as we were made for a purpose, our bodies were equipped to fulfill that purpose. And so that attack, like we're virtually like attacking our internal beings when we are not living to our called purpose. And whether that's towards our thyroid, which is super, super common right now. Nowadays, a lot of females have thyroid issues, or our heart, or our lungs, or our digestive system. All these systems within us are being affected by this perspective of you don't matter. It's eventually it causes that confusion where the body is going to start attacking it. Because it doesn't know if it's good or if it's bad, because we're constantly telling it doesn't matter. And so just want to challenge you that if you have autoimmune issues, if you have cancer issues, dig down deep. It's where that deep emotional healing needs to start to happen, so that your body can heal, so it can physically heal. You've got to be able to start to feel again. You've got to be able to start to know what you're called for, what you're made for, your purpose, that you have a bigger purpose. And so do some of that hard work, do some of that emotional work, that hard work of where you're at right now, what you're feeling, what your thoughts are towards yourself, and start shifting them. Start dreaming again. What is it that you want? What is it? If you could make up your dream day, whether you need to make money or you don't need to make money, whatever that looks like, what would your dream day look like? What would your house look like? What would your life look like? What would you do for a living? Start dreaming again. Start seeing those pictures of what you love inside. Because it's not selfish, friends. There's a scripture that talks about how God gives us the desires of our hearts, that He has divinely planted those within us. So it's okay to start dreaming. It's okay to start feeling again. So I hope this is encouragement that whether you're sick or you're not sick, either way, is so important. I think one of the enemy's most number one tactics is to start stifling our voice, start stifling our dreams, start stifling who we are. And so don't allow that to happen. Dream, hope for a better future, hope and draw out that future. Take pictures from magazines, take pictures off from online, create a dream board, write it out. If you're a writer, write it out. What does it look like? I see it in your heart. See a new, better future, more fulfilling future in your heart. So, just remind you that you were made by God in the very image of God. You were given the mind of Christ. You have been given everything you need to heal. Be empowered. Go, do, and be. Mwah.